This is Kent Hance, best storyteller in Texas. We always start with the saying of the day, and the saying of the day comes from Dwight D. Eisenhower, former president and four-star general. He said, "A people that values its privileges above its principles soon loses both." Isn't that good? People that values its privileges above its principles soon loses both. And he is 100% correct on that. Eisenhower was a guy that was overseeing the war and then came back and was a war hero and ran for president. And we have not had any war heroes run since then. And the reason is we hadn't any wars that we won. You know, you had the Korean conflict and it comes to a stalemate, and then the Vietnam War and it's kind of a stalemate, and then Iraqi. And it seems like that the old theory of if you get in a war, you go all out to win, and then you have a complete surrender. But that has fallen by the wayside. Items today, I want to talk about the federal government shutdown. This has been lingering on for a few weeks here, and it's not important unless you get your check, and you're not getting your check, then it's really important. This has to come to an end. You still got to be able to sell treasury notes, and the government's got to function. It's much like they've written the checks. You know, they've done the budget, and they came up short, and they need to borrow some money. And there's several groups in Congress. One group is that we need to stop writing checks, and, you know, let's don't cover these and see how people like that. One's like groups, whatever comes up, we'll cover it. And other ones are kind of waiting to see what happens. And the Republicans wanted to renew the budget as is and move forward. And Schumer wants to add for the health care and your Medicaid, people that are not here legally, illegal aliens. And there's a big fight on that. And that's not something that Trump will agree to. So I don't know at what point in time. And Schumer's, he's looking around his shoulder because AOC may run against him. So he doesn't want to appear to be weak. So he's got to be strong. So there's a lot of internal politics on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, a lot of internal politics that are dictating this. But at some point in time, they got to deal with the reality and move forward. Whoever's in the White House is the one that has to have it happen, regardless what party it is. And so they have to try to work out some kind of compromise. The Democrats are in the minority, and they're trying to say, well, we want to save certain programs and get certain programs to be eligible for Democrats. So they're taking that position. But I think that it'll be solved in the next week to 10 days. Someone was saying the other day it might go to Thanksgiving, and I think that'd be a tough deal, going to Thanksgiving. President Trump arranged for the military to get theirs, to make some adjustments so they could get paid. Most of the members of Congress got their staff still working, even though they're not going to get paid. They'll get paid for back pay and back work that they actually did. We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Speaking of fear, we had, there was a poll came out that said 29% of the American adults are still afraid of the dark. I've never been afraid of the dark. I mean, I didn't figure there was anything out there. Same poll had a bunch of questions. One about college, your college experience. 38% said they would redo their college experience. Now, most of that's not they'd go to a different college, but I think that they might study a little harder and take a shorter time getting out and be probably less partying, that they probably regret that they went a little far in that. Also, there was an article on expensive hotels. Most expensive hotel that you can find anywhere across the board in the city is in Boston, Massachusetts. New York City was second. Third was Zurich, Switzerland. fourth was Milan, Italy, and fifth was Paris, France. And they'd go on from there. A friend of mine, Tanner Mahan, one time got charged a large amount for a hotel room, and he told him that the last guy that robbed him had a gun instead of a hotel room, and they didn't think it's funny. I thought it was a pretty good comeback. Going out to eat, sometimes with your spouse or a friend or whoever, you may have a discussion and about where you really want to go. And this guy, his wife called the police, and he was arrested for attacking his wife. That she wanted to go to Chili's and he didn't. And I would advise him he needs some counseling. To get in a physical fight over whether to go someplace or not is not real good. Also, we had a 32-year-old guy in Florida. He's facing domestic violence charges. He hit his dad. What happened? He brought a prostitute home for dinner, and his dad, wouldn't feed her, and he got in a fight with his dad, and so that's a kind of a strange situation. Also, there's people, an Ohio lawmaker that wants to make it a law in Ohio that you cannot have a marriage between humans and artificial intelligence chat boxes. And I never thought that anyone would think of that, but it shows you how slow I am that someone would think about marrying somebody with artificial intelligence, a machine. A recent survey showed that there are only 10% of the public can name the first 5 Bill of Rights. And you give them options, they can get pretty close. But only 10% could name them all. And, the freedom of speech, religion, press, the right to bear arms. And in Lubbock, there's a store called the Second Amendment store. Now, you don't drive by it and say, I wonder what they sell. I wonder what they do. It's Second Amendment store. It's just like on news programs sometimes. Jay Leno used to ask people different questions, and it shows you the lack of knowledge they have in asking about, what's the 50th state. And, I was watching one time, they said China. And that might be true someday, but right now it's not. Scientists also discovered that if you can get a stamp size of skin, that you can grow it over a period of time up to 4 acres. And that's a lot of skin. And it's needed for burn victims. As we said at the first, there are 29% of the people afraid of the dark, but 28% of the people love watching horror movies. And they love it to the extent that 10% said that they slept with the lights on. I don't watch movies, much less horror movies. One of the few movies that I've watched in a long time made any sense was filmed in Tyler, and the name of the movie was Hands on a Hard Body. And a lot of people think that's X-rated or something, and it's not. What it is, they had a Toyota dealership, and you would put your hand on the vehicle, and the last one to leave got the pickup or Camry, whatever kind of Toyota it was they were giving away that year. Hands on a Hard Body. And they interviewed some of these people, and one of the guys said, you see the fellow with the Snicker over there? He's going down. I've never seen anybody eat a Snicker and be able to stand more than another hour. And the guy went down in about 50 minutes. And but Hands on a Hard Body tells you a lot about people. And there's one guy, he bought some new tennis shoes to wear to stand in, and he forgot them and had on a pair of boots. And they narrowed it down to 2 people that had the Hands on a Hard Body. And one of them was with a church group, And they called and they said, "Praise the Lord." And she lifted her hands up in the air to praise the Lord, and she lost the Toyota pickup. If you ever get a chance to rent that movie, Hands on a Hard Body, it's not a X-rated movie. It's a movie about the psychology of people being able to win a car by standing in one spot for a long period of time. People that love horror movies, 33% of men do, but only 24% of women do. They don't like the scary movie as much. And there are certain don'ts come along. And it said, don't ever hire a restaurant manager that's not waiting tables. Well, I mean, that makes sense. My friend Snake Adams always said, don't ever hire a plumber that bites his fingernails. And that one's not highly intellectual, even though he's a smart guy, but there's bound to be a lot of reasoning on that. And don't hire someone to sell you real estate that still lives it with their parents. If a guy comes to your house and he has an iPad and a white button-down shirt, he's there to sell you new equipment, not to fix the old equipment. So if you got on a coat or a tie and a white shirt, just be careful. Of the don'ts, there was one other don't. Don't trust a pastor who wears expensive shoes and watches. And don't trust a principal who was ever a teacher. I can't ever think of knowing anyone that was ever a principal and had not been a teacher. Don't hire a restaurant manager that does not have experience waiting tables. They got to be able to wait tables. If you can wait tables and do it correctly and do a good job, you can do almost anything. I always said that I wanted someone that worked for me that could wait on 10 tables in Dimmitt at the cafe and keep everybody happy. And that's somebody that's well organized. 23% of men are fine with leaving a restroom without washing their hands. And I've always said the number one reason that they'll wash their hands is if there's other people in there. You know, they don't want to not wash their hands while other people are looking and aren't you going to wash your hands, sir? Something like that. But that 23% do not do that. And that also, this I liked, that 60% of people that go to a public restroom will use a paper towel to open the door when they're leaving and throw the towel in the trash if they get a chance. And the next one's even funnier. It said that 43% of people that use a public restroom flush the commode with their foot, with their shoe. They'll step up there and they've got those automatic commodes now. I don't know. We reached a new low on our show talking about automatic commodes, but they have those now, and that people don't have to utilize their foot and their elbow on paper dispensers. And stupid criminal, and this one is hard to believe, but it happened. In New Jersey, these women got in an argument because the line was moving slow, and a lady was talking about how slow the line was moving and the people must be stupid. And she was really criticizing them. The other lady took up for them. And so the first lady, before she left, she went back and bought some knives, and then she stabbed the other lady out in the parking lot. That they need counseling. They need help. They need out of the gene pool, in my opinion. You'd say, was there malice? Yes. She had to go buy a knife so she could stab the other person. Not a good situation, to say the least. Good news, there was a couple in North Carolina, got married 31 years ago and didn't have money for a honeymoon, and they won the lottery last week. And they've been married 31 years. They're going to take their honeymoon. And That's good. Took them only 3 decades to be able to do this. And a lady got an award from the governor of Louisiana. She's performed the Heimlich maneuver on 3 people in the last year in the restaurant. I wonder what that restaurant sells and what they serve. They must be serving something that's hard to choke down or hard to accomplish. One last thing. If you're having a birthday party for an adult, and a good theme to have is a magician, and get a magician to perform, and that they can do all kinds of things. Everyone will have a better time. I had for a family reunion, I had a magician a couple times, and the kids really liked him, and I'd had them 2 times in a row, and so I was thinking that that was probably too many. So the next time I had a rattlesnake hunt, and my wife protested profusely about it having a rattlesnake hunt. What if you hide 5 and you only find 4? And that's why that could be a problem, but we won't. Anyway, I had a guy that was an expert and one of the top rattlesnake hunters in Sweetwater, Texas. Always remember there's a rattlesnake contest in Sweetwater. And one of the contests is how many snakes you can get in a bedroll with. And that I think some guy had 8. And that's not good judgment. I don't know. That's unusual things, or to put that in stupid criminals that you get in a bedroll with 8 rattlesnakes. But if the guy I hired, he brought 5 rattlesnakes and he left with 5 rattlesnakes, and he put them out on the deck by the swimming pool and let them move around and everything. And the little kids, they loved it. And some of the mothers didn't like it, but it is great entertainment for children. You have to keep back, stay back, and allow them to have an opportunity to hunt rattlesnakes right there in Central Texas. Saying of the day is, a people that values its privileges above its principles soon loses both. President Dwight D. Eisenhower.